A most valuable lesson in chemistry. Finding that undefinable spark with a new partner is like looking for a needle in a haystack. We don't know how to describe it or how we'll find it, but we're certain that we'll know when it comes along. Let's look at the laws of attraction and explore what personal chemistry truly is, what draws us to one another, and what we should be looking for when we want a relationship that will stand the test of time. When it comes to the laws of attraction, chemistry is not as mysterious or elusive as it may seem, and it's a lot less magical and mythical than it's cracked up to be. The story of your attraction starts way back in the beginning. As children from an early age, you create blueprints by watching and learning from your family of origin. The first people you observe are your parents. You watch, listen, absorb, and model their behaviors, how they eat, laugh, cry, relax, and relate to one another. The way your parents treat one another is how you learn to love, respect, give and take. The way they deal with conflict is your blueprint for conflict resolution. You also absorb the values, work ethics, religion, people-pleasing behaviors, anger, lack of boundaries, and other characteristics from your family of origin. Years later, long after we've grown up and are on our own, we're still operating from these blueprints, both consciously and unconsciously. It's these blueprints that can make connecting with some people almost feel instantaneous. They seem comfortable to us, familiar. We're at ease, at home with them. We even feel that elusive spark of chemistry many times. Chemistry is familiarity. Simply put, chemistry is familiarity. That's right. That new friend or romantic partner you instantly and easily connect with, and that spark you feel, that chemistry, it's familiarity. It is why some people connect with us easier than others. As well, the more similar traits two people share, the stronger the familiarity or chemistry. It's why so many people say things like, you'll probably end up marrying somebody just like your father or mother. Indeed, marrying someone just like a parent is something that emerges from our blueprints. Familiarity has its upside. If you have a similar temperament to your mother, and you find yourself attracted to men who share many of the traits that your father has, and your parents have a good, supportive, happy marriage, well, it's all good. It works then. From desired to undesirable. Relationships that start with a chemical bang often end in despair. This happens if we're building a relationship based on flawed or painful blueprint. And unwittingly, we repeat negative patterns that we grew up with. Unconsciously, this person that we may find irresistible reminds us of something difficult and unresolved from our childhood. We just don't always recognize it right away. For example, Martine meets Marty, a wonderful man who just happens to be in the same profession as her father. Marty works hard, just as her father did her whole life. Her father was a proud man of his beautiful wife who gave up her career to raise three well-behaved children to his exacting standards, while he devoted his time to build a successful business. Marty is also similarly driven. After dating for several weeks, just as she is getting comfortable with Marty's take-charge plans for her free time, Marty then lets Martine know that if they were to marry, he would insist on her staying home with the children, just as his mother did. Martine soon starts to recognize an all too familiar trait and pattern, Marty's domineering and controlling nature. Once again, Martine has chosen someone just like the overbearing and critical father she grew up with and struggled with for many years. She now sees that she is in a relationship that appears to be similar to her parents' dynamics. She wants nothing more than to end this relationship and break the cycle of choosing domineering men to make her life choices once and for all. Breaking negative cycles. To break negative cycles, we need to recognize patterns and be aware of the familiar or the family traits that we carry. and the situations we unconsciously recreate and attract. The more we resist acknowledging the traits and vulnerabilities that we have, the more they persist in our lives and show up over and over. The moment we own our traits and our patterns that make us susceptible to reliving negative cycles, then we enable ourselves to shift and change. Only through awareness we can break negative cycles and patterns that we grow up with. Back to Martine. Once she becomes aware of her vulnerabilities and her tendency to people please and allow others to take control over her time and plans, as her father once did, with her mother as well as with her, she can then learn to spot negative but familiar allure of the controlling partner that she most definitely does not want in her life. She can learn to own her part in allowing someone to be taking charge and controlling of her, and spot the warning signs of someone with traits similar to her domineering father. She can end, once and for all, a negative cycle that she has been repeating in her life from childhood. From chemistry to compatibility, we all carry the blueprints of our families, good and bad and indifferent. But we needn't need to be sentenced to a life of repeating unhealthy cycles like people pleasing, abuse, control, and other maladaptive patterns. Once we take the time to recognize our good traits and acknowledge the negative ones, we can choose to make meaningful and positive changes. We can then begin to understand the dynamics of familiarity in full, see beyond the chemistry, and seek a compatible partner, someone who aligns with our values and goals and supports our aspirations. It is compatibility that stands the test of time, and that makes for an exciting and fulfilling relationship. That chemistry lasts a lot longer than the one that comes from familiarity. An interpersonal chemistry test. Acknowledge the good and bad traits you carry from your family blueprints. Ask yourself what positive traits you share with your new partner. Pay attention to familiar negative feelings like dread or fear, self-doubt as they arise. Recognize warning signs like familiar negative traits, roles, and behaviors. Commit to choosing a partner who supports and aligns with your goals and aspirations. That's very attractive.